All right, so get this. Today we are going to try to really do a deep dive on John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
Oh boy, yeah.
This book is huge. I mean, it's sold over 4 million copies, which is,
Oh, yeah.
pretty impressive. And you've given us um, a really interesting collection of sources to look at it. We've got summaries, we've got a church review, which I thought was really interesting, and even some YouTube breakdowns. So clearly somebody out there is trying to figure out this leadership thing.
That's a hot topic for sure.
But whether you manage a team or you're leading a volunteer group, or even if you're just trying to like up your own personal influence, like I think this is relevant to just about everybody.
Absolutely.
Maxwell's got some intriguing, dare I say, irrefutable insights, right?
Yeah, I mean, irrefutable. They're called that for a reason, right?
Yep.
They really have resonated with people, and it's interesting to see, like you said, all these different sources, all these different angles. It shows you just how broadly applicable these principles are.
Yeah, for sure. So let's just jump right in. Why don't we start with what do we got here? The law of the lid.
Okay.
So this one's all about self-awareness. And it's interesting because Maxwell argues that your level of self-awareness is like the absolute ceiling for your effectiveness as a leader,
Yeah.
which is a kind of a...
It's a hard truth, right?
It's like how much...
You can only go so far
Yeah,
as far as you're aware of, your strengths, your weaknesses, all of that.
Right.
I think a good way to think about it is, imagine your leadership ability is the lid on a container, okay?
Okay.
The higher that lid is, the more you can achieve, the more you can fit in there. But if that lid is stuck, your potential is totally capped.
It's like, have you ever played like a video game and you hit like that wall where you just like can't get past a certain like boss or a certain level?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like you just hit that and you can keep doing the same things over and over again.
Exactly.
But until you level up your character or you figure out a new approach, you're just going to like be stuck.
You're not going to make any progress. And that's where, we talk about the growth mindset these days.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, it's not about being born a leader. It's about recognizing that you can constantly learn and grow and raise that lid.
Totally. And, but here's what's interesting to me, because I was thinking about this, especially in light of #2, the law of influence.
Okay.
So even if you've got that, that really, really high lid, right? You're super self-aware, you've got all these great qualities. If you haven't cracked the code on influence, you're still not going to be that effective.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's not just about you.
It's not about the title. It's about how many people you actually influence.
Oh,
Right? Like
yeah.
you could be the CEO.
Right.
And if nobody's listening to you, like who cares?
Exactly. And one of your sources, the one from the church's review.
Oh, yeah.
They said, even in a church, and I thought this was really poignant, even in a church where you might think, okay, leadership's clear cut.
Yeah, you'd think it's very hierarchical.
Right. The person with the real influence isn't always the one with the big fancy title.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, what is it? You can catch more flies with honey than vinegar or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
You can demand people to do things.
You can try.
You can try to use your authority.
Mm-hmm.
But to get people to really buy in and to be inspired and to to really go on that journey with you,
Right.
that takes something more.
It does. It takes, like we were saying before, that trust, building that trust,
Yeah.
demonstrating expertise, but also having that genuine care for who you're trying to influence.
Right. It's about making that human connection.
Exactly.
Not just like the boss employee or the whatever the dynamic is.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that takes time, right?
It does. Nothing good happens overnight, right?
Well, I mean, some things do, but
not usually in the leadership world.
not when it comes to leadership for sure. And that kind of brings us to law #3, which is the law of process.
Oh yeah.
This one really resonated with me because I think sometimes we look at these big leadership figures and we think that they just like woke up one day and they were like amazing leaders.
Right.
But it's a process. It takes time. You know what I mean?
It does. Think of it like building a house, right?
Right. Yeah.
You're not gonna like pour the foundation one day and then expect to move into a finished house the next.
No, definitely not. You got to frame it You got to,
Steps.
yeah, you need the blueprints. You need like you said, the framing, the electrical.
Wiring, all of it. And it's the same with building your leadership skills. You need a plan. You need the right tools. You need that willingness to put in the work. You're basically building it brick by brick.
Yeah. And maybe even sometimes realizing that you need to like call in some help, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Whether that's, finding a mentor or reading books like this one, Maxwell's book, or even just like taking time to reflect on your own experiences and figure out like, okay, what worked, what didn't work.
Yeah. Learn from those mistakes.
Yeah. Learn from it.
Don't be afraid to fail, right?
Exactly. It's all part of the process, right?
It's all part of the process. That's right.
Yeah. And speaking of a plan, I guess that leads us perfectly into #4, the law of navigation. Leaders, they don't just react, right? They anticipate, they chart the course, they figure out where they're going.
You're proactive, not reactive.
Exactly.
And that's where things get really, it starts to get really interesting because it's not enough to just sort of have a destination in mind, right?
Right.
You have to think about, okay, how are we going to get there?
Yeah. What are the obstacles you might encounter?
Exactly. What are the obstacles? What do we need to be prepared for? And how are we going to bring the team, everybody along on that journey?
Right. Because you can't just,
You can't do it alone.
Yeah, you can't. Well, I mean, some leaders try to, but...
They try, but it never really works out, does it?
No, not in the long run.
Not in the long run.
And speaking of bringing your team along, it's interesting. There's like a recurring theme in a lot of these laws, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
About, empowering your team, building relationships. Like we've got the law of addition, which is all about adding value to others. We've got the law of empowerment, which is about, actually giving your team the power to really shine. So it's like, it seems like true leadership isn't like a solo act at all.
It's not. It's much more of a...
The team sport.
It is a team sport, yeah. Like, that one of the YouTube videos, I think it was, they use this analogy. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
I like that.
And I think that really speaks to this, because if you want to build a truly high-performing team, a team that can weather any storm and achieve amazing things, it takes trust, it takes delegation, and it takes a genuine belief in, the power of collaboration.
Makes me think of, was that movie Apollo 13?
Oh, yeah.
Where they had to, like, the engineers all had to come together.
Right.
And figure out how to, like, fit the square peg in the round hole.
Yeah.
To, like, get those guys back from space.
Right.
They needed each other. They couldn't have done it on their own.
Absolutely. It takes, different perspectives, different strengths.
Yeah.
And speaking of, having a strong team around you, I think it's important to also mention law #11 here, the law of the inner circle.
Okay. Yeah.
Because even the most brilliant leader, and we've all worked with or for someone who thinks they're brilliant, right?
Right.
But they need people around them.
Oh, yeah. To
help them, to challenge their assumptions, to offer different perspectives, and to help them see that bigger picture, right?
Yeah. Because none of us, I mean, it's good to think you're smart, but
sure.
But to really think that you have all the answers, I think is maybe not the best approach. Right?
Oh, humility is important.
Yeah, humility, and also just surrounding yourself with people that can, like, fill in your blind spots, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those people that you surround yourself with, those in your inner circle, they're not just there to, like, rubber stamp your ideas.
Right.
They're there to push you, to challenge you, and ultimately to help you become a better leader. That's a good point.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need that feedback.
You need those people that are going to tell you the truth, even when it's hard to hear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of, those hard truths, let's talk about law #13, the law of the picture.
Oh, yeah.
This was all about walking the walk.
Leading by example, right?
Yeah.
Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. Because let's be honest, people are always watching.
Always.
They might not say anything, but they see what you do more than they hear what you say sometimes.
That's right. And they're learning from those actions.
And I think it was one of the summaries you shared actually had a statistic about this.
Oh, really?
They said that, I think it was a study by Agilon Finance or something like that, found that leading by example was the #1 trait that American workers valued in their leaders.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So it's not just us saying it. This is like data-backed.
Yeah, data-backed.
That people really want to see that alignment between what you're saying and what you're doing.
It's not enough to just talk about integrity or hard
Yeah,
work.
right.
You actually have to live it, because those actions, they paint a picture.
They do.
And people are always looking at that picture as a model for how they should behave.
Hmm. It makes me think of that quote, integrity is doing the right thing even when nobody's watching.
That's a good one, yeah.
But it's even more than that.
Hmm.
Right. It's about, like, really aligning your actions with your values
Mm.
consistently
Yeah.
so that people know what you stand for.
Yeah, it's about being authentic, right?
Yeah.
Because if people see you as being inauthentic, if they see that there's a disconnect between your words and your actions,
Right.
you're not going to get that buy-in that we were talking about before, which leads us perfectly to law hashtag
It's
14.
the law of buy-in.
Exactly, because it's not enough to just have, the best idea in the world, the
No.
most innovative product.
Right.
If you can't get people to buy in, it's not going to go anywhere.
Right. And to your point about authenticity, it's like that saying, what is it? People don't care how much you know
Mhm.
until they know how much you care.
Right.
Something like
Oh,
that.
right, exactly.
And I think that's so true because, it makes me think about all those leaders, like throughout history, the really charismatic ones, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Who were able to, like, inspire these movements and these,
Right.
these huge groups of people.
Mhm.
It's not just that they had, like, compelling visions, although I'm sure they did, but they were able to connect with people on an emotional level.
Yeah, that human connection.
Yeah, and get them to buy into this thing that was, like, bigger than themselves, right?
Absolutely. And that buy-in, that shared belief, is what creates momentum.
Oh, there you go.
Which brings us to law hashtag 16,
Big Mo.
the law of Big Mo.
Law of Big Mo.
Yeah.
I love that. It sounds like something out of, like, a sports movie or something.
Right.
But it's true. When you got the momentum, it's like,
You're unstoppable.
yeah, you're unstoppable. And even, like, those little setbacks,
Right.
you're like, whatever. We're on a roll.
Because you have that belief, that unwavering faith, which actually ties back into law hashtag 15, right?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So it all kind of builds on itself.
So it's like a 1-2 punch, right?
Exactly, yeah.
You cultivate that belief in yourself, in your team, in your vision, and that creates this momentum that, like, propels you forward.
That's it, exactly. It's that positive feedback loop. Success breeds success, and when you've got that big mo on your side, it's amazing what you can achieve. It's contagious, right?
Totally.
That energy, that feeling of, we're really making something happen here.
Yeah, and it's tangible, right? Like, it's not just about feeling good. It's about seeing those wins, those moments where, like, what you've been working towards is actually, like, coming to fruition.
Right. It's those little victories along the way that keep you going, that fuel that momentum.
Exactly. But of course, even with the best momentum in the world, you can still trip up if you're not careful about where you're directing all that energy.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And that leads us, I think, to law hashtag 17, which is the law of priorities.
Yes. Big one, this one.
Huge. Especially, like, I feel like in today's world,
Oh my gosh.
where there's just this constant pressure,
To do more.
to do more, to be more, to hustle harder. Like, it never ends,
Never stops.
But as Maxwell points out, and I think this is key, busyness does not equal productivity.
Not at all. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're actually accomplishing anything.
Exactly. It's like that feeling when you get to the end of the day and you're like, man, I was going nonstop.
Right.
But what did I actually do?
Did I actually get anything done?
Right. Yeah. Did I move the needle on anything important? Or was I just, like, answering emails and running around like a chicken with its head cut off?
Exactly. And that's where, prioritization comes in.
Yeah.
Because it's about identifying, okay, what are those, that 20% of activities that are going to drive 80% of the results?
The Pareto principle, right?
There you go.
I love that.
And really giving your focus, your laser focus.
Yeah. Easier said than done, though, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's hard, right?
It's so hard.
Because there are always distractions. There are always urgent but not important things popping up, people needing your attention.
Right. And that's where, I guess, like, strong leadership comes in, right?
Absolutely. It's about having the discipline to say no sometimes.
Yeah. To those good opportunities.
Those good opportunities so that you can say yes to those great ones that really matter.
To the things that are actually going to move you towards your goal.
Exactly. And to inspire your team to do the same thing.
Yeah, that's huge.
Delegation is key.
It is. And sometimes that also requires, a little bit of sacrifice. Right.
It does. And I think that's That's a tough one for some people to hear, but it's true. Maxwell talks about this in Law, #18, leadership often demands sacrifice.
It does. And, it makes me think about, like, all the great leaders throughout history, right?
Yeah.
They had to make really, really difficult choices.
They did.
Often, giving up something that they personally wanted,
Mm-hmm.
or, putting themselves in harm's way even for the sake of something bigger than themselves.
Right. It's that saying, to whom much is given, much is required,
Right, right. But it's not about, like, seeking out sacrifice for the sake of it.
No, no.
It's about recognizing that sometimes to achieve those extraordinary things, you got to make those tough calls.
You got to do what needs to be done, even when it's hard.
Even if it's not, fun or glamorous or whatever.
Exactly. And, a lot of times those sacrifices, they're not, these big, grand gestures, right? It's the everyday things. It's, working late to meet a deadline. It's missing, your kid's soccer game to support a team member who's struggling.
Right.
It's putting the needs of others before your own, even when it's inconvenient.
Right. And that's where I think, the timing comes in, because you could be making all the right sacrifices.
Right.
But if you're doing them at the wrong time, it's not going to have the same impact.
Exactly. And that leads us to Law, #19, the law of timing.
Oh, timing is everything.
Right. It really is. Because it's not just about what you do, it's about when you do it, right?
Yeah.
It's about, understanding the context,
Mm-hmm.
reading the room, so to speak, and knowing when to act decisively and when to, maybe hold back and wait for a better opportunity.
I think it was one of the YouTube videos that we watched actually had a really good analogy for this.
Oh, yeah.
They were talking about, they were comparing it to like a wave versus a ripple. Like a wave can create this massive change, but only if it crashes at the right moment. Right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just a ripple. It's barely noticeable.
It comes and goes, yeah.
Exactly.
And developing that, that sense of timing, that intuition, it takes experience. It takes, paying attention, learning from your mistakes.
Right.
And maybe a little bit of luck, too.
A little bit of luck always helps. Okay, so 2 laws left. We're in the home stretch here.
Almost there.
We're in the red zone.
Your final countdown.
Exactly. And these last 2, I got to say, Maxwell saved some big ones for the end.
Yeah, he did.
Law, #20, the law of explosive growth. This one's all about the power of multiplication.
Yes. This one's huge.
It is huge, and it kind of ties back into, some of the things we've already been talking about.
It does.
About empowering your team and...
It's all connected.
Yeah, because it's the idea that true leadership isn't about, like, building yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
It's about building other people up, right?
It's about empowering others to become leaders themselves.
Exactly. And that's where the explosive growth happens, right?
Exactly, because it creates this ripple effect that extends far beyond what you could ever accomplish on your own.
One of the summaries that you gave me had this really great way of putting it. They said, teaching someone to fish is 1,000 times more powerful than just giving them a fish.
It's true. Because when you invest in someone's growth, when you give them the tools and the knowledge and the confidence to succeed, you're not just creating a stronger team, you're creating a legacy.
Ooh, legacy.
There it is.
Which brings us, at last, to the final law. Law, #21.
The big one.
The law of legacy. This one's about, like, the really long game, right?
Yeah, it's about the impact you make on the world that lasts long after you're gone.
It's about, like, what you leave behind.
Exactly. And it's not about, buildings or statues or any of that, right? It's about the difference you made in the lives of others.
One of the YouTube videos, they described it as influence beyond our years.
I like that.
Which I thought was really powerful. And it made me think about, like, all those little moments, those interactions, those conversations that, you might not even remember.
Right.
That they could have a ripple effect on somebody else's life that you might not even ever know about.
Exactly. And, it doesn't require, like I said, these grand gestures or, you don't have to be Mother Teresa or Gandhi or anything.
Right.
It's those everyday acts of leadership.
Right.
Those little moments of connection, of inspiration, of kindness that can have a really profound impact on the people around us.
It's like that quote, what is it? The best leaders are those whose actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. That's what it's all about, right?
That's the legacy right there.
That's the legacy, yeah.
So there you have it. We've done it. We explored all 21 of John Maxwell's Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
Quite a journey.
It has been a journey. We talked about everything from self-awareness to influence to, charting a course, empowering others, leading by example, and ultimately building that lasting legacy.
And I think what's really great about these laws is that, they're not just some abstract concepts.
Well,
They're principles that we can actually apply in our own lives, whether we're, leading a team at work or leading our families or even just leading ourselves.
yeah, we're all leaders in some way.
Exactly, exactly. And I think these laws, they provide a really great roadmap for living and leading with intention, with impact, and with integrity.
I love that. I love that. And that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
It's not about the title or the position or any of that
So
stuff.
it's about being the best version of yourself.
It's about the impact you have on the world around you.
Exactly.
So as you go about your day-to-day, think about which one of these laws really spoke to you. Which one maybe you want to try to really embody this week, even in a small way.
Yeah, start small, right?
Start small. Because true leadership, it's not about, like we said, the title or the position. It's about that commitment to being the best version of yourself.
Love it.
And to inspiring those around you to do the same.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, well, on that note, until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep leading with intention.